your program has had some good team success. You've had some individuals who've risen and really, captured some attention and excelled at the collegiate level. What's next for your program? What do you feel like you need to do as a coach and within your program development process that you'll need to do to get to the next level? Today on the Collegiate Tri Spotlight, we're joined by Gina Kehr, the head coach at University of San Francisco, one of our Division I programs out in the Western region. Welcome, Coach.
Hello, good morning.
I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about your program's development. You only just launched 2 years ago, is that correct?
You've had two competitive... Technically 2019.
So you were one of the programs that launched in the midst of COVID and campus shutdowns. So you've had a pretty unique situation in terms of building an NCAA program and at the Division I level in a region where there wasn't regional competition to bounce off of and help to elevate your program and sharpen them up competitively and develop your athletes. So I think what would be a good place to start our conversation today would be, what was your approach to try to install something brand new at a school when the campus was basically shut down in a region where there were no other schools to kind of, see how it's been done, and you kind of were inventing the wheel as you were going?
Yeah, great question. And I actually love that we're going to talk about this because I don't think people realize that our program did start during that time. So the vision in 2019 was, obviously to create a great program, but I did come on mid-season or mid-year, meaning June. And so I had a few months to recruit a full team. I was able to recruit 3 athletes, and our vision at that time was to get 3 athletes across the finish line at nationals to meet sports sponsorship to just start the program off. And it was during that time that I focused on getting a full class of recruitment for that following season of 2020. The 3 athletes that I had at that time were on that same plan, and we knew this was building, and we were essentially creating what was to be the future of USF Triathlon, and that is what we did. So during that season, we met our goal of going to nationals. We got all 3 athletes across the finish line, and we recruited a large class for that 2020 season. And then, as you know, in March, we shut down, and then it was month to month on how we were going to keep the program alive while the city of San Francisco and obviously with USF, everything just completely shut down.
USF's a private school. Did that factor into the process for you, or was it just like it would have been at any school? COVID presented some unprecedented situations for everybody across the country. But did you find anything about being in a private school unique or more challenging than you expected?
Not really. And that could just be me not completely knowing what was going on with the other programs. I think the city in general, I think where we were located, as you know, we were very conservative. The city in general had a very strong approach to how we were handling COVID, and the university followed along. So when it came to restrictions and everything, it was definitely seemed to be of the higher component than some of my other schools. But again, part of that was, I think we were so new and trying to figure everything out, developing a program while being completely shut down was day-to-day learning.
Most sports, when they launch, there's a nearby rival, maybe an institutional rival. You think, some of the big ones, Auburn and Alabama in football, or Duke and North Carolina in basketball, they're regional rivals. Mm-hmm. You don't have another Division I program in the state of California. What's the closest Division I program to you? And Were you able to create a sense of rivalry or use anything in a positive way to help to grow your program or install some excitement in your program?
Yes, I mean, the closest Division I program in triathlon is ASU. I also knew that Denver was starting, and then we had South Dakota. So when I was developing the program, I was using ASU as our rival, if you will. That who is what I was using to educate our athletic department and our AD at the time, as far as what we were trying to build. So, knowing that we didn't have anybody else in California, Arizona was close enough that, we definitely targeted that component, that school for sure.
In the team race, I know 2 years ago, you all placed on podium and were pretty close to knocking ASU off. That must have been a pretty significant highlight for you. Have there been any other milestones that maybe someone wouldn't know about that you guys have achieved or experienced as a program since you launched this program?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, definitely that season, again, I think the biggest thing that people don't recognize is that we went from the 3 and 4 that year and a half that we were in COVID. I mean, it was planting a goal, bringing the team together and trying to create that team cohesiveness for that year and a half, some online, some here on campus, for the vision of 21 nationals, 2021 nationals. And I thought that, all of us, the coaches, the team, I mean, we really put a lot of heart and soul into that by the time we were done with the 21 season, I mean, I think the majority of us were pretty mentally, emotionally burnt out and took a little bit to regroup. So when you ask, is there any other milestone? I think the biggest milestone is just that so much of that was done during a time that was every day was keeping everybody motivated and driven for something that every day at one point was like, well, we hope we'll be together in 21, so it was pretty amazing.
The COVID era has presented a lot of challenges. Keeping our athletes healthy has always been a physical health conversation, but in the last couple of years, the conversation has really shifted more towards mental health. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's been uh, one of the areas of focus. There's certainly been a lot of media coverage around that. A lot of our elite athletes, Olympians, and so forth, have revealed some of their own personal challenges. But the college age athlete, I think, more than any other, is going through such a rapid personal evolution. What sorts of things have you all experienced there as a college coach, trying to work through COVID, trying to keep a sense of normalcy, or even redefining what normal
Yeah.
is, and keep your athletes healthy mentally as well as physically?
Yeah. I think that collegiate athletics in general is one of the most unique experiences of a student's development, a collegiate student's development. I mean, uh, so then add in COVID, I just felt that the mental health component, especially post, has been very, very important. Giving the students grace to let go a little bit, helping them recognize that they are here for school, as their priority, helping them understand that they're pushing through is great, but in this new world and the way we're doing things, it really was. I guess the biggest thing was definitely managing a fair amount of grace, as I mentioned, just letting them be allowed and feel that it's okay to sort of bring things down a little bit. And, I think that that's a residual effect that we're going to see for a little bit. I think we're starting to come out of it more and more and kind of regroup. But that time of being so closed, and especially for that class of 2020 to have their senior year taken away and then learn how to develop as a collegiate athlete during that time, It's a lot. It's a lot. So a lot of grace.
Do you feel like your approach to coaching and your perspective on athlete development has evolved because of your experience coaching through COVID?
Definitely. I mean, you know, I first started coaching collegiate athletes 10 plus years ago. I had finished my own professional career as a triathlete with my own balance. Obviously, I was 40, so I had done it with a whole different mindset, maturity. And when I first started coaching, I felt I've learned. I was definitely way harder, had to learn to sort of bring that balance back, remember what it was like to be a collegiate student athlete. And but with COVID, it's even more heightened. So definitely really learning how to try to listen better, try to understand more, figure out how to push without being overbearing, but at the same time, pushing the ones that need to be pushed a little bit more and letting the ones that need a little more relaxation to have that. So a lot more individualistic approach for each person on the team.
You mentioned your own elite racing career. I'm curious how that has played into your approach to building a program, if it has at all, or your approach to developing your athletes, if it has at all.
Yeah. I don't really know if I mean, from knowledge, I think it's been a lot. Like, obviously, having done the draft legal racing coupled with the long distance stuff, I think that that's a big benefit. Like, I completely understand draft legal racing. I love the tactics that are with it. I love all of that. But I think really my best experience was the years of just having coached. I coached collegiate club before moving into NC2A. And, you know, having been an NC2A athlete myself all 4 years, it is a part of my life that I truly believe developed me to be an elite athlete in triathlon. And I really kind of go back to that. And I had a couple of fun experiences as a collegiate club coach that reminded me, like, oh, right, this is collegiate, and had to let go of a lot of the professional parts of my life because they don't have the resources and they're not as mature as I was at that time.
But you've also got some very talented athletes there. You had a talented lineup and then added an athlete who went on to win the overall national championship as an individual at NCAA's two seasons ago, who also
Mm-hmm.
had some international experience. How has that shifted the culture of your program or challenged you to develop your approach to coaching, blending a spectrum of talent, you know, going from your very first year when you were scrambling to get together some athletes to represent the school, to blending in some who'd had some success at the junior elite racing level, and
Mm-hmm.
then adding in someone who's raced internationally and had some success at that level, who was then a competitor to win the overall national championship.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I truly believe in mindset um, above talent per se, meaning if you can get the whole team to think of the mindset of that more elite, more disciplined athlete, everybody will rise to their level. And so I like to think of it that we all use each other to make each other faster. Um, Obviously, when it just comes to training athletes in general and what they can handle, there is a difference. But as long as that mindset is congruent with everybody, I feel that everyone is being successful to the best of their ability.
At the Division 1 level, you're competing against programs who have rosters filled with athletes competing on you know, the world stage.
Mhm.
It's diverse. You have athletes from all over the globe coming into the United States to race at the Division 1 level. What do you feel like it takes to build a Division 1 program that can compete at the pointy end of the race, maintain a good, strong sense of team and culture, and grow and evolve the way that NCAA racing has evolved? I mean, the last 2 to 3 years, the level of racing has shifted remarkably. The gap between where it is currently and where it was just a couple of years ago is remarkable. So how do you build a Division I program that can keep pace with that and withstand some of the growing pains that probably also go with that?
Yeah, I think the number one is obviously educating the athletes as they're coming in. I think everyone's seeing that, but I don't think everyone's really understanding it. I think this year was significant. I think next year is really going to be significant in seeing where things are going. The divisions are starting to break apart. The depth is getting more. So again, in building that Division I program, for me, it's just all about bringing in as many athletes with the right mindset and who can fall on that. I guess fall on the same page together in doing that. Kind of going back to the training, I think when we're showing up to practice, everyone's vying for the same purpose of the workout, coming in with the same hard work attitude, working as a team, pushing each other as a team, encouraging each other as a team. But whether one athlete is doing, 20 hours of training and one athlete's doing 15 hours of training, it is my job to help them understand that they're individuals at the end and that they handle what they can handle and that they're all bringing a purpose to the team. I think when it comes to the difference in athletes that are racing, that trying to get them from judging each other or judging themselves is the hardest part. So again, going back to grace and recognizing like it's a development and you're a freshman compared to a senior, totally different on what they're trying to do.
That's interesting. And as the sport has evolved, I think you experienced it where one of your new roster additions actually became one of your team leaders. So we're different than some traditional sports that maybe have a little bit more seasoning and history behind them, where there is a hierarchy by class, by age of the athletes. Some of our younger athletes now have the most international experience. They may have been racing for longer than even some of our juniors and seniors. So to expand and maybe even explore a little bit your experience with mindset of the athlete, when you have someone come in who maybe they're a freshman and they're a level above some of the athletes that are already on your roster, how do you deal with that?
Well, what's funny is I think the hardest part obviously is for the freshmen because I will still hold them back. They are a first-time collegiate student, and there is a life of balance that is not, I don't think you can get the experience prior to coming to school. It doesn't matter even if you are, someone who went to boarding school or are more independent, which most of the high-level athletes coming in are. They've been traveling international, but when you add in studies and then the distractions of university and all of that, right? Like that is where it's at. So for me, it's holding those athletes back and helping them understand it takes us about a year, at least one semester, but a year to really get to know them. And as we build them throughout the program.
It's interesting with our sport being a fall sport, they have to hit the ground running, right? They show
yeah.
up. You're in team practices and there's no time to acclimate to college life. And suddenly you probably have competition within, what is it? The 20 days, we have 20 sessions by NCAA rule before our first allowable competition. So those freshmen come in and it's drinking from a fire hose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun though, to be fair. It's probably one of my, I love that ability to help them get acclimated, especially the international students. They're also having to work with not being near family and then the food, like just getting them used to the American diet. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that is there. So yeah, it's pretty quick and fast from the moment they get on campus.
I'm curious, your program has had some good team success. You've had some individuals who've risen and really captured some attention and excelled at the collegiate level. What's next for your program? What do you feel like you need to do as a coach and within your program development process that you'll need to do to get to the next level?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously, continue on the recruiting. So we essentially skipped the 20, I think it was 2021 recruiting season due to COVID. It was just too difficult financially for the university, and we had a good roster of 9 at that point. So we just went ahead and stayed with our roster. So 22, this fall was the first time we brought in a few new athletes. We've just signed 2 new athletes for fall of 22. Wait, I feel like I'm getting my years off. But anyway, so we now have a roster of 12 that were set for this coming fall. So again, I have this first recruited class, if you will, the big class. The majority of them will be graduating after this next season. So now it is a matter of that next turnover of the roster and figuring out where we're going. You know, I'm continually sitting down with my athletic director and showing him where the sport is going and what we want to do, getting aligned with the vision of the university as well as with my own vision, and just making sure we're, you know, continuing to be one of the stronger teams in Division I.
This next year, TCU begins competing. Duquesne University out in Pennsylvania, University of Arizona just announced. It's exciting at the Division I level to see brand name programs really step into the fray now. You know, for years, it's been a lot of D2 and D3 schools who really carried water here on this initiative and helped to build the base. How do you foresee that having these new Division I programs is going to affect the NCAA mission?
I mean, I think it's great. The bigger the programs and the more named programs shows that the sport isn't just this kind of random sport. It shows that big universities in big conferences are interested. And so, I mean, I think it's wonderful. And the more we get, the merrier. I know for me personally, as a competitor and just what I'd like to see with NC2A, it's only a plus. It's super exciting and I love it. I love it. Let's get more. We have a couple in our conference that would be great.
Well, it's always fun talking with you. This is the first time we've ever recorded one of our conversations, but I always enjoy our conversations. Thanks for the insights. You know, I look forward to seeing what you're able to do with your program this next year. And you're always adding new pieces. I know you have a couple of big recruits that you're excited about that are going to be coming online next year. So good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. You're a pleasure. And I love what you're doing here. We need to get more of this out there. So this is excellent.
Well, we'll circle back and have another conversation down the road once some of your recruits and signings become public and we see how your program's coming together.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Coach.
Bye.